All right, so I'm going to teach y'all how to have fantastic conversations with other people. You may have heard of the 6 journalistic questions, also known as the WH questions of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Now, if you were a reporter trying to write an article on some event or whatnot, then these questions are fantastic in gathering information, creating context for the sake of a story. However, when it comes to intimate relationships, one of these will be kind of a nuclear question that may cause a lot of stress. 3 or 4 of them will kind of lead to dead ends. They're kind of duds. And 2 of them will actually be really good at fostering intimacy. So the nuclear option question is the question why. Now, it's because when you're on the receiving end of a why question, let's say, why did you go to the store? Or why did you decide to take this major or go down this career path? The person on the receiving end of that question, they're kind of on edge because now they're being asked to explain and provide a reasoning to their decisions. Now, for those of us who are already feeling pretty self-conscious or have some struggles with self-esteem, being on the receiving end of a why question makes us kind of backtrack, and the person fumbles and they feel super tense and nervous. Not a really good setup when you're trying to build a connection with that person. So even though it's important for us to get to know one another through the question of why, because it reveals a person's values and their reasoning or how they made the decision, that question will probably be good to set aside for some time. Now, later on, I'm going to explain the other 2 that provide an alternative. You don't want to create a power dynamic with the person that you're talking to. You don't want to take a one-up position so that they feel one down, because it creates actually more distance and more rift. You don't want to mess with any of that. So the nuclear question to avoid as much as possible is why. 3 or 4 other questions of the 6 that are kind of duds or dead ends are the where, when, and who questions. I added what to the list as well. And the reason why these are dud questions is because they're closed, meaning you ask the question, where did you go this weekend? As soon as the question is asked, you kind of have to ask another question just to keep it going. The questions themselves only gather information, but they don't necessarily foster intimacy. So if you find yourself trying to have a conversation with someone and you keep asking, like, what do you do? Or, who is your favorite band? Or where is your favorite place to go for coffee or cocktails or whatnot? You kind of, as the asker, have to keep the conversation going. So they're okay, but they're not great in terms of building a solid connection with somebody. So use them sparingly. You can still use them. They're still better than the why question, but you probably need to put in a lot more effort. And the other person on the receiving end, they don't really know what to do afterwards either. So the 2 other alternatives of the 6 that open up the conversation and keep it going, and that makes it easy for each of you to get to know each other, are how and what about. I kind of added that word at the end. So how questions are great if you're trying to get to know a person's process. So instead of asking, like, why did you decide to become a therapist? You can ask the question, how did you come to becoming a therapist? You're asking about the journey, about the process, and people love to share stories about themselves, and so you'll find that they naturally open up. Okay, so that's the canned sentence. How did you come to blank? Okay, so one alternative. Second alternative is the what about question. Now, I love this question because, again, one of the great things about the why questions is trying to understand a person's values. Well, the what about question helps get around the whole defensiveness bit. So you ask, the template is, what about a given subject do you feel a certain emotion? So as an example, what about being a therapist do you enjoy? What about being a firstborn in your family? Do you feel stressed out about? This way, you're getting to connect with the heart of the other person in terms of their emotions. And so that provides a nice, gentler way of inviting the other person in to share about themselves versus being more interrogative and asking them why. Now, I'm going to just give you an example just to kind of consolidate this. You can ask somebody, why do you like key lime pie? Or, what about key lime pie do you enjoy? You're effectively asking the same question in terms of the information that you're gathering, but the relational dynamic is a lot more fluid. We are, at the end of the day, emotional relational beings. We're not just analytical. Actually, the analytical brain is a lot slower than our emotional reactive brain. So in order for you to foster and strike up really great conversations and build intimacy with other people, it's good to try to notice what kind of tone of voice you're using, your body language, all the nonverbal stuff that you hear people talk about in terms of soft skills. Those are super important. So check those out, okay? So again, the 6 WH or journalistic questions are who, what, when, where, how, and why. Avoid the why as much as possible. The who, where, when, and sometimes what. Those are okay. Just mix it or use it sparingly, but really try to lead with the what about or the how questions. So if you want to learn more tips and tricks like this on how to build relationships, check out the link below for some blogs about relationships or emotions, and I'll see you next time.